Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here for the City of Dearborn Heights proposed budget fiscal year 2022, 2023. And we're going to be doing today multiple departments. It's right now 1 p.m. on the 22nd. We're going to be doing Parks and Recreation, Richard A. Young, Library, Information Technology, Cable, TIFA, and CDBG. We're going to go ahead and start with our Parks and Recreation Director, Kim Lawrencell, and Dave Sabuda, our interim controller. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome, council members. And Mr. Mayor, welcome. We're going to pick up where we left off from Tuesday evening. As the chair has stated, we're going to start with the Recreation Department. I'd ask you to turn your books to page 7273, where you'll find the Recreation Department's proposed budget for the fiscal year 22-23 fiscal year. That budget, the proposed budget, is for $1,145,550. And we will touch base on the SMART program and on the Richard A. Young facility after this budget, which is the main recreation budget. So what you have here is, again, $1.145 million in proposed spending. There's a director, a deputy director, a senior coordinator, and 2 full-time staffers for a total of 5 full-time staffers. As you recall from last study session, we've moved in the applicable longevity appropriation, life insurance, employer contribution for pension and Social Security into the department from the 200 General Government Department. Recreation programming is here, which has been increased by $23,900 or 39%. And as you look at these line items, what we're trying to do here is anticipate pre-COVID levels of spending. We spent a lot of time, Kim and I and the team spent a lot of time on determining we're coming back, and we're trying to gauge the pre-COVID, COVID type of activity that we're going to experience. So the recreation programming is up by 23.9 or 39%. Senior trip costs have been increased 100% for planned activity from $50,000 to $100,000. Senior programming has been increased by 25% or $6,000, again, because of the pre-COVID activity. We think we're going to be coming out of that. Spirit Fest has been appropriated. Also on the capital outlay section, we're setting up $44,700 for a new marquee. And
What's that, you what?
A new marquee.
What was the amount again?
Marquee sign?
A marquee sign for Canfield Center.
Oh, okay.
What was the amount?
$44,700.
For new marquee?
Yes. And
Are we talking digital here? What are we talking?
Well, actually, what we're doing now is we're actually just putting the money, that's actually the money from the Wayne County Park millage. And we're going to use that to get the best marquee that we can get, because that's the money we've been given to use, if that makes sense. I mean, we can go a real expensive marquee, or we can go a cheaper one, or middle of the road. Obviously, we haven't went out to bid for them yet, but that's the money that I've been allotted.
Okay.
Okay.
this is a good time for any other questions. Those were the highlights to the budget.
Yes.
You go right ahead. Let's open it up.
So the first question I've got is on overtime. You had quite a bit of activity on overtime this past, or at least total projected for the year. It had accounted for 3,200 and went up as high as almost $5,000. And I know you're back to 3,200 as far as requested. Do you know why there was so much overtime this particular time?
Yes, because we had all of the events that we don't normally ever have. We've had all of the concerts that we've had all of the one-day events, stuff that wasn't in the budget, and by the end of the year, we were going to do a budget transfer from the regular account into that. Obviously, I can't run these events without some staff. We do use a lot of volunteers, but I need my core people to be staff members, well-tuned into whatever section that they are running themselves.
So with so much used, why would you not then request, out of curiosity, for more?
I did, and that's what I was given.
Well, I know, but it says requested budget 3,200 and then recommended 3,200.
I actually requested more than that.
Okay. Okay, I mean, it's not a huge amount, but I just wanted to make sure we address that. The second question I had for you is, under utilities, the amended budget for 21-22 was 45,000, and then the projected is 36, but then we're back up to 47. Why is the utilities jumping around all over the place?
That is actually based on what we get from the controller's office and based on previous bills. So it was lower then and higher now, I guess.
Would that have anything to do with COVID, with the building shut down and?
That's part of it. Then also you have to take into consideration the weather. So especially in the wintertime, because remember, you're dealing with heat, you're dealing with electric, okay, and you're dealing with water out of the utility line item. So all that's going to come into play when we develop this. So what I did when I projected, I looked at the same time last year for the space remaining in the fiscal year. So remember, the expenses are through 3/31 and that are in the 2021-22 activity column. So then I'm looking at April, May, June, and then that's basically what we're adding to the projection, and that's how we're coming up with the final numbers. Now, remember, on the projection, if it's warmer, we should see utilities drop, or if things don't flush out. So for instance, if we have a COVID outbreak and we don't turn the buildings on, then of course the utilities will also drop. So, but conversely, if we're running the air conditioning, and I'm not sure if there's air conditioning in there isn't, but if you're running air conditioning or you're using more water than anticipated because it's warmer and you're watering plant material, then at the end of the day, that could drive up costs also. But it all comes down to weather.
Okay. And then the last question I had, actually, well, let's go with the minor one. On the Spirit Fest, you mentioned on here donations. So you're saying the 51,400 in the requested budget would all come from donations, correct?
No, that is how much it costs to run the Spirit Festival.
Okay.
That is just the expenses. The revenues are in a different account. Basically, donations have never been real large for Spirit. Like, as of right now, we probably have, I don't know, $3,000. I think we're hurting a little bit more right now because we've just been through all this COVID stuff. But generally, donations have not been a real big part of the Spirit Festival in the past.
But from what I understood, it's always paid for itself.
Correct. And that is because you're including the ride, the portion of money that we get from the ride company. And then also, if we end up underneath what we need to make it break even, in the past, Antonio's, and they're our
For the
sponsor again
rainy
this year,
days and all that?
they will make up a difference up to $7,000.
Right.
So basically, that's what you're counting on. And as far as what the ride company brings in, that changes every year, depending on if we get rain, if we get great weather, if we get real hot weather, all of that
Okay.
comes into play.
And then the last question I had is on senior citizens. We had the projected activity for this year is 66,541, but then the requested budget is
This one.
sliced by more than half, so it's down to 30,000. Why such a huge drop?
Because what we used to do for our senior trips is we've been always told to use the senior expense account, the particular one you're talking about, as a revolving account for our senior trips. Not the cost for the buses, but the cost for the tickets for the venues, any deposits we have to make for restaurants, any deposits we have to make for certain trips, that kind of thing. So in the past, starting way back with Vince McCary, he had told us just use the senior account. We've corrected that this year, thus lowering that to about what we've been spending on just the seniors. And then we increased the smart account, like
Okay,
50,000.
So there's no decrease then for seniors?
Correct. Well, correct, in regards to that.
Well, Okay, no, so now I've opened up another can of worms. Okay, so I need that clarified.
Okay.
You know, if there's a slight amount, that's one thing, but if there's, you know, $36,000 drop, that's a huge drop.
Yeah.
So in the end, how much of a drop are we having
If you're
between the two
talking, if you're
combined?
talking about this specific thing, it's good. I mean, it's what it should be. But I was actually referring to another senior coordinator. We weren't able to have that put in the budget either. So just so you guys are aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
We got some questions from Councilman.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
I have a follow-up on that. Is the one we don't have the one at Eaton Center?
Correct. And
We've been without.
we do have one at Berwyn Center right now, Patty. So,
Katie's been filling in,
Okay,
and
so,
volunteers.
so is there a reason?
I was told because we didn't have the funds for another full-time position.
Being at Eaton, can't we get CDBG money?
We do that already, and we use that for reimbursement for our senior receptionists in the senior centers and part of Patty's cost. It doesn't cover everything. If we can get more, I don't know. So,
That's something we could follow up with CDBG later, couldn't we?
Well, you're going to see that in the later on this afternoon. You're going to see that CDBG presentation, and you'll see that senior programming money being set up to be transferred into the general fund to cover senior programming. You'll see that there.
Councilwoman, were you all set?
I have one other question.
Go ahead.
Why does it cost $17,000 more for utilities at Berwyn than Eaton? Aren't you closing down
It-
rooms that aren't used?
well, all of the rooms are being used, but what the issue is their Berwyn Center is a lot bigger than Eaton. And, you know, the boiler is outdated. That's something that I've talked to Ali Dib about, and then also Hassan. And we've got that scheduled, hopefully sometime in the future for CDBG money.
For Berwyn and not Eaton? Because Eaton's utility area. is
Eaton,
very
I've been
bad.
told can, it's working well and it can be repaired. We just couldn't afford to do both at once, is the thing. And Berwyn's is pretty well shot, and it was shot years ago.
Ours has got lead.
Yeah. Then everything is in bad disarray.
Okay, Councilman Muscat?
Guess I keep it.
You all set?
What is a rec program? Yes, he went from 62,000 to 85,000.
The rec program is what we, the account that we pay all of the expenses for all of the events that we have. It did go up because we're offering all of those concerts that we have. We're offering, you know, the Easter event. We're offering events that we've never offered before. And obviously, you know, they're not free. We are starting to work on getting sponsors, but it's difficult right now because everybody is hurting from COVID. But we've added additional programming tenfold, as you guys all know.
Council Chair.
Councilman, go ahead. Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. one
Go
second.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Go
Councilman.
ahead. So my question is about the part-time, I guess, part-time staffing. So the amended budget was for 180, projected activity about 129, and now we're asking for 190. Are we expecting more part-time staff?
Actually, we are reopening. I mean, the year that you're talking about, half the year we were partially open, but we're going to be open the complete time this year. That's one thing, except for Fridays at the Eaton Center. We won't be able to go back to opening Fridays at the Eaton Center, but the rest of the buildings are going to be reopened full-time. Plus, we've had to increase our salaries because we're losing people. As everybody knows, the staff shortage. We've had to increase our part-time salaries to keep the good people that we have, and then also to be able to get people to apply for the jobs that we have open.
Keep up with inflation. Thank you.
Yeah.
My second question is, how come it doesn't show, like where it says hospital insurance and life insurance, it doesn't show what's the activity in 2021 and amended budget, or just shows the projected activity?
Right. So, Councilman, if you recall from this past Tuesday, those expenditures were lumped for the Recreation Department. Those expenditures were lumped together in the general government line item for healthcare and for life insurance. And now we're pulling that apart, if you recall our conversation from Tuesday. So you're not going to get the history, you will see the projected.
Because some of the departments did have though, right?
No. This is, so we're setting this up so that we get the true cost of the department, and this is one of the main charges. So, excuse me. So that's why you don't see anything there for the historical piece. And then if you wanted to see the historical piece, you'd have to go to the 200 general government department, but everybody's lumped together there, and it's going to be a rather large number.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, just in addition to what Mr. Sabuda is saying, in the past, when we looked at it, you'd see like, let's say, I don't know, 10 million, 5 million, 2 million,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That wouldn't tell us anything. The way Mr. Sabuda is doing it right now, we're able to tell for that particular department how much we're spending on those. Not that it would be any different. It's not like we could say, let's cut that off. Well, we can't technically, but it's going to be there. But at least now we know how much per department is being spent.
Yes.
Councilman Constant, go ahead.
Thank you, Council Chair. The tennis courts at the Richard A. Young Center, they haven't been operational in years. About 4 years ago, the fence was pulled off. So now the vandals are taking apart the fence, taking apart the metal tubing and everything. Are they at least going to do something? Are we going to at least do something to secure that so it doesn't, the fence and the vinyl siding on the side are getting all tore up and vandalized? And wasn't the plan to use the grant money from the county to fix the tennis courts instead of for a $44,000 marquee?
No. Basically, in regards to the tennis courts, I did have that in the budget. It was removed because of money that we had available. That was the first thing. I can definitely look at the fence and see what we can do in regards to that. Maybe DPW can at least take it down. But currently, it probably will cost us about $230,000 to replace all of those tennis courts, and we do not currently have the funds for that. The $40,000 that I was talking about is the new money that we were allotted for this year. I think you're referring to the previous monies or funds that we had available from Wayne County that are going to be allotted for the Van Houten project that's starting in the spring.
But yeah, the plan was to use some of the county grant money to fix up the tennis courts. So it's $250,000 to fix the tennis courts?
Yes. They actually have to be gutted, demoed, and replaced.
All right, and then.
They're that bad.
Open hours at the Richard Young Center, that since COVID, there's really no members back. Any plans to, I know for most of the summer, the center's closed on Sunday. Any plans to do anything to get membership back at the Richard Young Center?
There is, but currently, right now, we're actually working on getting the building up to where it should be. We've done several things with the building. We've replaced the fitness room floor to a really nice rubber floor. We've refinished the gym floor. The kitchen renovation will be starting in 2 weeks. And then we're currently working on the situation with the bathroom. So right now, what I want to do is get all of these things fixed, repaired, the cement out front, and then have a nice grand reopening for the building following that with several advertisement programs to get more members in.
Oh, you think that'll happen in the next year?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And
The
then,
kitchen got held up because they had trouble getting the wood for the cabinets.
and
so
then
that's why it's taken
the
so long.
Berwyn Center, there was talk with Crestwood Schools about them wanting space at the Berwyn Center. And any talk about putting some of those programs elsewhere if the Crestwood wants to start utilizing the
Councilman,
school?
that one, let's move off of that one.
All right, we will. That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman, go ahead.
Sorry, guys, and my apologies for coming in late. I thought it was starting at 1:30 today, but very low end of my end. Thank you so much, Mrs. Director Lauren Sell. I know you do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I know that we just did the floors at the Richard A. Young Center. I just have two things. I spoke to a couple of the residents that play pickleball there. Believe it or not, I walk in there on Saturdays just to say hello to the residents that are in there. and, try to get a little bit of a workout. But I will tell you, I think, the gymnasium, which I know we've made some changes to it, it seems like it just needs a little bit more. So when I speak with the residents who play pickleball there every Saturday and Sunday, tell me the same thing. It looks great, but the floor just wasn't done the right way. And I'm not saying that was your fault. I
Yeah.
think it's more of the
Yeah.
contractor that actually did the job, may have promised us something that didn't stick.
Yeah, what they're referring to are the dead spots in the
Yes.
floor. And unfortunately, the only way that we can deal with those is have the whole floor torn out and
Maybe we can't
installed.
afford it in this budget, but can we,
We,
potentially see if we can do it?
I definitely have that on the list,
Okay.
but we do have more priority items that are like a lot higher on the list. I would like to see somewhere, some outdoor pickleball
And I know
courts
they
and
say
that
they
kind
use
of
them
thing
at the
too.
They use them at the tennis
Yeah.
courts or whatnot there?
Yeah, but the tennis courts that we have there, we have a lot of interest in Annapolis High School doing a program there. So I don't think that we can take those 4 tennis courts away and make 2 of them be pickleball courts. But we do have some property, like at Heather Lane Park, that would be good for pickleball courts. So, there are a lot of different things that we can look at and do, but, as we were talking earlier, we got boilers and we've got other things that are a lot higher priority
Yeah,
that,
I agree with you.
it's just the parks and recreation facilities and parks are in pretty bad shape.
Definitely, I agree, they're definitely outdated.
Anything else in regards to the recreation department from anyone?
The bathrooms at Eaton being upgraded, is that still in progress or is that done?
We've got 2 bathrooms done, and we've got probably 4 left to go. We are actually waiting for the report back from the asbestos and lead report, and then we're going to review that because we've included the stuff that needs to be removed in the boiler room. Once our city engineer reviews that, we're going to draw up specs, and we're going to have everything done at once. So we're just waiting for the reports to come back, and then we've, in the CDBG budget, there's money to finish everything that needs to be finished at Eaton.
So the bathrooms aren't done?
2 of them are done. There's probably 4 that are not.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have Councilman Tom Wenzel on Zoom. If you don't want to let him in,
Yep,
please.
I let him in, he is unmuted.
Go ahead, Tom.
Lower his hand, speak.
Yeah, hi. Hey, a couple of things is, the Annapolis High School, they're interested in those tennis courts, but there be a, home, court, you have to have 4 courts. Can't just have 2 to be considered a home, to compete within, their league there. So if that's the case, we'd have to concentrate on redoing all 4 of them.
Correct.
And, the marquee, Director, can you elaborate on the marquee? Now, are those funds restricted specifically for a marquee?
What it is it's money that comes from the park millage money that we get back from Wayne County. And we can use it on pretty much any project, but we have to have a marquee sign. Our marquee sign at the Canfield Center is shot. That's why I've allotted that money for that. I can't get employees out there to put the letters up on the marquee. You have to use this long rod and you have to stick the letters up there, and they continually fall and they break. And midwinter, to get employees out there, it's a bad situation. So, regards to that and regards to the, concerns that I have for the employees and their dislike in doing that and our need to advertise our programs, we need to have the marquee.
Yeah, I just think there would be, there's better use of $44,000, more urgent building, maintenance issues, if we have any that aren't addressed yet.
The lights don't even work on the marquee anymore, and nobody can fix them. I've had a meeting between DTE and the DPW. They can't figure out what the problem is. It's way outdated and it's half broken. The insides are falling out.
Okay. As far as marquees go, 44,000, how is that, medium?
It's probably, from what I've looked at, medium.
Marquees?
Yeah. But something is better than nothing.
You all set, Councilman?
Okay, just have one other statement. Why we're, what, okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Council Chair, why were we muted when we were discussing the Berwyn Center and the Crestwood School District?
Why are we, I'm sorry?
That's not part of
You
the
asked
budget.
about someone asked about the Crestwood.
Because,
We can talk
okay, there's two things. This is, first of all, budget hearings. Second of all, there's been just conversations, gone nowhere, it's dead. And when we start having conversations about it, you're opening up all kinds of cans of worms that, for something that's not there.
Okay, I just wondered if there was something there that was we're trying not to talk about.
No. There's just, it's something that's not there.
That's monies that's available. I mean, not that I'm in favor of that or not, but that would be.
They're not going in that direction, so it's basically irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
And I want, also, what I want to try to do for all the council members, try to stick with just the budget issues, because, you know, if we're talking about painting this or fixing that, I mean, if it's on the budget, let's talk about it. If not, maybe call the directors directly and have that conversation later on. Okay, Councilwoman, you had?
Well, I had a question about the janitor at Eaton.
At Eaton?
He's fantastic. We have to keep him, and I know he's only part-time.
Yes, and he is wonderful, he's happy, and he's also happy with his salary that he's
Right.
making.
And he's done things there that no one did. He reaches up on the fans and
He's
dusts them.
done an amazing job. The custodial room is like spotless.
Yeah.
And that is an example of having to raise the salary. We would never have gotten him if we hadn't raised it.
Okay, and our marquee also, if we could.
That's
trim-
on the list,
If we
too.
could at least trim the trees, they do want lights, but
Yeah.
whatever we could do would be helpful
Yep,
there.
that and Berwyn's both are on the
I
list.
think we discussed that at a previous meeting with the mayor about the marquee there and getting rid of those trees or trimming them back.
So,
Just so you know about the trees used to be the twirly bushes that were really, really beautiful. And I have been trying to find somebody that does that kind of trimming, and I have actually been unable to locate anybody, so we're gonna just trim them
Try
up
English
straight.
Garden.
What?
Try contacting English Gardens.
I will do that again, but I did do that once and they didn't have anybody, but I would rather have them the way they're supposed to be because they were beautiful. But I'll try English Gardens again.
Connect with me, I got somebody.
Perfect.
Yep, connect with me.
That's why they haven't been done. I've been looking and looking and looking.
okay, so next up we have yes, Councilman.
Well, and one other question about, what about using the ARPA money for the structural repairs at Richard A. Young and the tennis courts and things like that, just so we can get it done instead of first we're gonna do this or that, and keeps getting kicked down the road.
So let me explain to you, the ARPA dollars that are coming into the general fund, that's helping with the expenses that have been presented to you today. Okay? Those dollars are balancing this budget. Okay? The one-time dollars are balancing this budget. So if you wanted to do that, you would have to cut something in order to get. And then it's not, thank you, Mariana. Mariana's telling me that it is not an eligible expense.
Well, the building would be, fixing the building would be.
It's not an infrastructure. This is the ARPA there's this criteria, there's actually restrictions where you can use the ARPA.
Right, but
So that's-
fixing the building and the part that's sinking is infrastructure.
You're talking about another fund that we don't even know it's coming. It's an
So-
infrastructure bill that they're working on right now. So that's something separate, Councilman.
And also, excuse me, Councilman, so also remember that the 10 million, so there was 12 million, 2.7 is coming into the general fund to cover past losses. That's balancing your budget for this year. Then you have the 10 million going to water sewer, and Mr. Dibb is looking for that 10 million because he has the state of Michigan on him to make sure that the city of Dearborn Heights does not violate the Clean Water Act of 1972. So he's counting on that 10 to get that work done. So, and that won't carry the day. There's more work after that. So you have an unlimited list of infrastructure projects here, and you don't want to end up back in federal court over,
I'm real aware that we're
Okay.
not. So, but what you're saying is there's no ARPA money left after we do the sewers and the other things. There's no ARPA money for any of those issues in recreation.
Okay, what I can add to that is this, is that there were 12 million more dollars that were out there that were going to come in future fiscal years, but my understanding now is that money is in jeopardy with the federal Congress. That's my understanding. So that we're unlikely, that no one's likely to see a second round of ARPA money, whether it's Dearborn Heights or another community.
It's 20-some million that we're getting total, isn't that correct?
Well, close to 12.
Well,
Here you go. Pass it down, Mary.
hopefully.
So it's 27
It's
million.
about 12 million. So right now, the first half that we have, obviously we have, even that money that we have, there's a risk that we might lose it. So again, I thought we're going over the budget, we're talking about stuff that we don't have. So the budget, as Mr. Sabura mentioned, we did balance it with the money that we currently have. Even if we don't spend it as soon as we can on things that we need, we can still lose it. The government can come back and take it away. So that's another topic. And
That's
again, we can
restricted.
stay here for hours discussing the ARPA
Right.
stuff.
Okay, next up, we have CDBG Director Hassan Jamal. He had a question?
No.
You have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, question?
He has a
No,
question.
he is.
He wants to speak.
Hassan, a question. Go ahead, Hassan.
It's a workout.
Is that him on?
Yeah, he's not muted or anything.
Hassan, are you on? All right, going once. Mr. Jamal, are you there? All right, going once, going twice. Oh, did he unmute? I think he just muted himself. Okay, if he comes back on, let me know. Are you on? He's not on. Okay.
I'm gonna ask him to unmute.
Any other council
Yeah,
members?
He's-
Okay, go ahead, Hassan.
Yeah, first to respond about eligible for other than loss of revenue and infrastructure for sewage and water improvement, period. No further discussion about that. Second, without discussing the CDBG budget, because I'm not allowed and will be in violation to discuss the CDBG budget right now. It needs 10 days. But to respond to your question, Council Chair, regarding the historically, the senior centers are receiving maximum funding eligible from CDBG. The public, 15% public are being received by the senior center, both of them, to cover whatever expenditures, including salaries and things like that. Their budget, because it's done on the back side, okay, and it's directly goes to what we call table funding without going through the loop of the budget. But they receive very much as we can historically from CDBG. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you, Hassan. Anybody else on the council? All right, so what we're gonna do is after every department, we're gonna keep the directors here, and then we're gonna see if there's any members of the audience that have any questions or comments or concerns. You had something, Mr. Sabuda?
Yes, any other questions on pages 72?
Or do you wanna do, you wanna go to the rest of them, right? Not the rest of them, you wanna do the
Page
Richard
30
A. Young?
No, we want to go to page 34.
Okay,
I'd like to turn your attention to page 34 while we're in recreation. You'll see at the bottom, so you're in the 200 department, okay, which is the general government department. And within there, you'll see a line item, 101, 200, 900, 999, which is almost to the bottom of the page.
Smart bus.
Smart bus expenses. And that's where we have the smart bus expenses. So when we run the senior transportation programs, while we have Kim here, if there's questions regarding the SMART program, she's here to answer those questions. We have 65,000 set up for that program, and that's based upon our allotment from SMART. Any questions here on line 101, 200, 900, 999?
just a quick question. That particular expense, we are reimbursed for that, right?
We are,
Yeah.
yes. It's a reimbursement grant that we have through SMART.
That's what I thought, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So that's a wash at the end of the.
Yeah, and the other thing though, too, I should bring to your attention though, we are also reimbursed for the costs that we put out for the venues and stuff like that because we charge the seniors what the expense is to go to that trip. We don't lose money in the trips.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions? All
Okay,
right,
moving along.
Next page.
Yep, moving along, we'd like to turn your attention to page 74 and 75 of your budget book. And we will, these two pages reflect the Richard A. Young Center. We are asking to appropriate for the 2022-23 budget year, $357,921. That would cover one full-time Parks and Rec coordinator. And the other major expenditures in this area would be $9,600 to refurbish the kitchen facility and $10,000 to rebuild and repair sidewalk issues around the facility. With that, I would entertain questions from the council.
I've got two questions. Number one, on part-time, there was quite a bit of an increase from 97,138 projected activity to requested budget of 141. You're talking about 40%,
Yeah.
45% increase.
The one big thing that you have to remember is we were dealing with COVID, so what we ended up spending was a lot less because we weren't completely open either the whole year or the whole time that we're normally open, so it's not a real accurate figure to compare with. The other thing is all of the part-time people that we've had to increase their salaries.
But instead of having so many part-time people, I'm just throwing it out there, is it any cheaper to have less part-time people, more full-time people?
At the end of the day, before we get to that question, what I also want to point out to you is this, is if you look at the 2021 number on that line item, you'll see it was 31,524. So if you remember March, COVID kicks in that fiscal year, all right? Well, March of 20 it kicks in. So now you're into 2021, you only spent 31, and now we're starting to come back as life has come back to normal here. Now, getting to your question about more full-time versus part-time, it comes back down to what programs are you running, what makes sense. The recommendations can be made, we can look at that, but remember your legacy
Benefits.
costs in association with a
Benefits.
full-time person is high. Okay, you're talking 29% for, in addition to the salary, 29% for a pension contribution, another 20% regarding healthcare and life insurance on top of that salary. So you really get a good bang for your buck by getting good, solid, part-time people, and you get to run all the programs that you'd like to run.
Okay.
And get it
And
done.
and the second question I had is on capital outlay. We went from 60,000 amended budget for 2020-21, I'm sorry, 57,900 from 2021 amended budget to projected activity of 60, but then we have a drop on what's requested to 10,000. That's about a $50,000, that's exactly a $50,000 drop. Do you know why that is?
I submitted a lot more for capital outlay on both ends of my budget, but according to what funds are available, that's what I have.
Okay, so Mr. Sabuda, can we start having, just so that this way it's all, I don't know, well, it's too late, might be too late, I don't know if it's too late now, but to be more clarified, so when I look at a requested budget from my perspective, that would be, and I'm not referencing in this particular case, this director, it could be any director, that would be what they asked for, and then the way I understand it, the recommended budget is what you eventually talked over, negotiated, and agreed upon between the administration and the directors. But what I look at here, in this particular case, I see requested 10,000 and then recommended 10,000. That would imply to me like that's what was asked for.
Okay, Mr. Chair, yes. Where I'm at here is this. When we come out of session with the department head, we agree to the number, okay? So at the end of the day, I would have fully expected Kim to say 10,000 is the number we need for the upcoming fiscal year because we went through her line item, item by item, parcel by parcel, and we, at that point in time, said, this is what we can afford, this is what we came to an agreement to. The laundry list is the laundry list, and everybody comes in to cover their behinds with everything in the kitchen sink. All right, and we go through that based upon the resources that we have and estimate for, and we agree, I can't stress this enough, when people walk out of that room with the mayor, Mariana, and myself, we agree to that line. And everybody's of the mind that I want a lot of expense, and I won't, and I want a lot of appropriation, and I'm not gonna give you as much revenue. It's just human nature. They want to be conservative. And at the end of the day, you have to work through that to get you a fair budget.
And I get that and respect that, but where I'm thinking from, so if I looked at a particular directors, and we're not referencing Kim specifically, I'm talking about to anybody, and if I seen on that hypothetically 400,000, and then I see that you gave them 10,000, or recommended budget 10,000, then that would tell me there was something that was requested for that, for whatever reason, we can't afford, and that's fine. But at the same time, from my perspective, I'd want to know, what did you need that 400,000 for? And let's just use hypothetically, it's item A, right? Then I may think, oh yeah, we do want item A for this particular department. Why don't we take out item X, Y, and Z from another department, or whatever it is, to be able to afford item A?
So to respond to that, this is why we pay a rec director. She's coming out with her best recommendations based upon the resources given, or the resources that have been determined.
A what director, I'm sorry?
A recreation director.
Oh, okay.
This is why you have a recreation director, a library director, a TIF director, a CDBG director, okay? And this is why these guys are out there every day, day in, day out, and we're making the best recommendation to you in your role as the council. So, good question, good thoughts, okay? Maybe what ends up happening later is the council does a study session, one at a time, at a later date, separate, as to, hey, what do you got out there? What do you need? Or if you have a rec commission, I don't, and forgive me,
There's one.
there you go. And the rec commission should be out there, and that's the purpose there, is they're out there talking to you about certain things that are required and are needed on a separate path. Okay, so I think it's.
I respectfully disagree with this method, but
Council Chair,
Oh,
I mean, one of the things, we can have you a whole list, and it's gonna take you days to go through this budget. You know, we spend hours, days, to kind of dwindle down, everything to balance the budget. So we were actually, just so for your reference, we had close to $5 million over budget. So I don't think it would be worth your time to go through $5 million worth of things that was requested. So we basically, as Mr. Sabuda said, we sat with each department, elected, non-elected departments. We went through, and at the end of the meeting, are you guys happy? This is what we have, this is our budget. Are you good with that? Yes, we're good. We came up to, consensus that this is what we present to you is what's agreeable, as he mentioned, by both either the elected officials and department heads, or the directors, or the chiefs in this case. So we can present you the $5 million at another time with everything, but that's a lot of projects. You're talking hundreds of projects that obviously, I like to rebuild the whole city. But, like you mentioned, you and I talked about the other day, people complaining about the roads. If, we can pave all the roads in the city of Dearborn Heights, but that's gonna be about $200 million. Who's gonna pay $200 million? So that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. We can tell you, yeah, we're gonna pave this street, we're gonna pave this street. It's gonna cost, $1 million here, $2 million there, $500,000 there. But it's gonna take a long time to go through this process with the council. So we did this, like I said, we met with each department head. It's like, you know what, this is the best way we can handle this. There's compromises. Then there was, we had rates things, and as we mentioned earlier, Mr. Deep actually sent to every department a capital budget, which was never done in the history of Dearborn Heights. Is like, say, this building, what is it gonna take to maintain it for the next 15, 20 years, or the police station? That's never been done. Nobody allocated one penny for capital improvement, and Mr. Deep just started this program in the last, few months. And that, we can share with you, and that will actually answer a lot of your questions, where the money was requested and what was supposed to be allocated for.
okay. I see your point, but I just think the requested budget becomes a little deceiving because it's not what was requested. That's my point, but okay. Okay, so who's first? I couldn't tell.
I don't care, you can go.
We'll have age first this time, go
I
ahead.
give age all the time.
This time too.
I'll keep the beauty.
A legend in your own mind, right?
I love you.
One thing here, ice machine, $9,000.
More than your outlay budget.
Operating expense,
Excuse me, you're looking, that would be the footnote, that's the footnote total. The 9,600 is the footnote total, so everything in blue there, that's the footnote total.
okay,
So
so,
the ice machine would be $2,000.
okay, because it says freezer for kitchen is 2,000,
No, you gotta look up on the other page, sir.
stove and oven for kitchen footnote. That's 4,500,
That's for the stove and the oven.
okay?
And then your freezer for the kitchen would be 3,100, and then you're looking at the ice machine for another 2,000.
Okay, so, explain what the kitchen does at Richard Young's.
Actually, the kitchen is used a lot for the rentals. We're redoing the kitchen now. Obviously, we're updating the cabinets in the meeting room. There are other things that need to be done to the meeting room, but once we get the kitchen done, a lot of the people use that when they're catering. We charge an additional $25 rental fee if they want to include the kitchen. Most of them do, so it brings in income, if that makes sense.
$25.
Well, we
rental,
rent,
we're gonna be here forever
We-
trying to recoup that money.
that's in addition to the room rental. And again, that will depend on how many hours that they use it. And right now, I believe it's like $55 an hour. Plus,
And
we
how
have a
often do we rent that?
$60 tent. It's rented, pre-COVID, it was rented, and this was when the kitchen was not in very good shape too. It was rented almost every weekend, possibly twice
Because
in that
as I'm-
weekend.
As I'm looking at the recreation, budget in the Richard Young Center, seems like Eaton's getting shortchanged here. Getting shortchanged
A lot
quite
of,
a bit.
a lot of the stuff with Eaton, and I understand what you're saying, but a lot of the stuff that we're able to do at Eaton has been covered under CDBG funds. We're not able to use those at Ray at all, or Canfield. So, it
I'm
kind
just-
of
you know, and I'm-
makes you
And I'm
understand.
looking at personnel.
Yeah.
I mean, why we don't have a director there.
So,
Just seems kind of odd that we're getting all this money for Richard Young Center and Berwyn, but we can't do something for Eaton. I mean, they're supposed to be equal, as far as I'm concerned. So, can someone explain that to me?
I have been able to do what we're able to do in the budget based on the funds that were allotted to me. So, that's basically what it is.
I don't understand why we can't have someone at Eaton Center. We have a person at Berwyn, we have a person at Richard Young Center, and we don't have anybody at Eaton Center. Just doesn't make sense to me when we have two people, we can't split time and have somebody at Berwyn also. That's my personal belief. I mean, to me, they're all equal, so I'm a little bit disheartened by this.
So next up, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman, and I will echo that, but I don't know, I'm sure you make the decisions, those are the tough decisions that the director makes.
I
so-
did put it in the budget.
Great, and I'm
That
sure
I
you-
requested it, but we don't, I've been told the city does not have the funds to have another
And
full-time
those are
position.
tough decisions that this administration has to make, and I
Yes.
understand that. I just have a question. My first question is, well, since we're at the Richard A. Young Center, like I said, I go there on Saturday mornings just to swing by, pump a little bit of iron. I saw the vending machine that says, use at your own risk. What are we discussing? Can we either get rid of those or buy new ones and add that to the budget?
I think for fear of sounding like a broken record, I did have vending machine stuff also in the budget. Like Mr. Sabuda said, I don't know about the other directors. I had a mile-long list, and that was one of them. And I opted that I wanted to go ahead and purchase our own machines because the revenue is a lot greater and you get products that aren't expired, things like that. But
And then my next question, and maybe Mariana can answer this, or the administration, or Mr. Saputo. I know I requested at the last one, can we get an understanding or breakdown of the personnel? $141,250 for employees. How many employees are we paying? Who's getting paid out of this?
Okay, so you have one full-time Parks and Rec coordinator is coming out of the Richard A. Young Center. Okay, I thought I had covered that at the
Do we have
beginning.
that number?
Pardon me?
Do we have that number? Are they salaried, are they part?
That's the 44,046.00.
And so that's the salary. I'm talking about the
Right.
personnel on the part-times.
The part-time, the whole roster, I do not have, we can get that to you as to what was last year. I don't know if they've been hired. Sure, go ahead.
Actually, we have several employees. These are the employees that work behind the counter. I know you want specifics, but I can give you a generality right now. These are the persons that work the counter, the custodial people, the people that possibly line the fields, anything that has to do with the activities at Richard A. Young, and they're all the part-time people.
Just put a moving forward on our next, and thank you so much. Are we gonna be able to get a breakdown before coming into this meeting?
Hi, Mo. Yes,
doing?
HR is working on it.
Thank you.
It's gonna take some time. They're doing interviews right now, so their schedule is pretty packed, but we will get it to you by the date, what is it? In May, the open one that we have. That's when you're gonna get all of the list of full-time employees, which is what we've typically given you. Are you now asking for part-time employees as well? Because that's about
so-
150 employees in the city that change quite drastically, quite often.
I know, but I understand it, but it always showed in the past as well. including
Not part-time employees. So I'm asking if you want that as well.
It's full-time. Okay, I mean, and then if that's how we did in the past and it was just full-time, all I'm just saying is I want to get an understanding of who's being paid what, because at the end of the day, like we said in the past, we have a responsibility here, to be fiscally responsible. And I'm sure this administration, I know you guys worked tirelessly on this, I know I'm asking for a lot. What I'm asking is that I want to get a better understanding, so when I go to approve this budget, I can sleep good at night. That's all I'm asking.
Yep, we're working on it.
And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with it. I'm sure that Mr. Saputo is, I've talked to him every single day for the last,
Again, Mo, we're
4 or 5
working on
months.
it, and I do want to clarify one more thing. This is a budget hearing. If you want details on personnel, I would also recommend having a study session on that, because it is a lot of detail that goes into that, and typically budgets and cities
all
don't
we need
present
is
that.
so we can apply it to our packet. No need for a whole study session on it. Thank you, Council Chair, I'm done. I believe Mr.
So, Councilman Wenzel, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask him.
Oh, okay, yeah, a couple of things, I agree with Councilman Muscat 100% on the Eaton Center. While this was going on, I got 2 texts from people, and this is, something that's been rumored about closing Eaton Center, and they said, is this just another step toward closing it? I mean, it does seem unfair about distribution, just repeating here what I got text. Also, I want to agree with Council Chair on the requested budget and the actual budget. Because we need transparency. How are we supposed to know who's getting cut the most or who's not getting cut at all? I mean, there could be someone that requested 100,000 and all they're getting is 10,000 because it says they asked for 10,000, they're getting 10,000. Or maybe someone asked for 150,000 originally and they're getting 100. I mean, as far as transparency, how are we supposed to know which departments are getting cut? I mean, we need transparency here, and that's just to say that this is what we agreed to in the end. That's not telling us what was asked for and what they're actually getting, which is something we deserve to know.
Any other questions, Mr. Chair, any other questions on page 74 or 75 of the budget?
On my end, no.
Okay, very good. So then I would then state that this is the end of the recreation portion of the program, and the next up would be the library.
Well, before we go to library, I'm going to go ahead and see if there's anybody in the audience
very
or
good.
on Zoom from the residents that would like to speak on it. Sorry, Mike. Hassan Jamal, you have your hand up? I don't see. Okay, he does. Mr. Jamal, before we go to the residents, you have your hand up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just very quick, to be fair and for you to know that without discussing the CDBG 22-23 officially discussing the budget. We can't discuss it. It's going to be done in a public hearing to meet the guidance for HUD. But in general, the director of the recreation, Ms. Lawrencell, requested funding from HUD, from CDBG, an amount of $1,360,000. That's what she requested. Those are considered, in my opinion, to be a part capital investment. She requested $50,000 for Heatherline. She requested $450 to update the boiler, the windows at Berwick. She requested $750,000 to do the Van Houten improvement. She requested $110,000 for the senior services. Those are totaling about $1,360,000. So this department, even though it doesn't show on the budget, because Mr. Sabuta is following, the charter of accounting, that it doesn't show on the front of the budget and being considered as revenue, that's his choice. If because those are on the back side of the budget, but that's the reality. I'm not discussing CDBG budget. We did not decide yet whether those can all be approved or not. We are discussing this with HUD, and this is being discussed, will be discussed in an open public hearing number 2. But just for illustration and for your information, to educate you on the back of that there is a $1,360,000 request, and most likely, probably, if we have no objections from the public and public hearing number 2, or from you, those probably most likely will be included and awarded. But I can't discuss that right now. I can't say that those, because those will be done in a couple weeks. We have to advertise, we have to publish, we have to make sure the public involvement are informed. We need 10 days publishing before we talk about the CDBG budget. And that's, so please understand that for Councilman Baidoun, for all of you, that there will be funding for capital improvement, both on the north end and the south end from CDBG. And it's up to the director to even convert some of the $115,000, grant from that with her, because I can maybe add, and replace that with CDBG when I do the budget later on. But she said those being allocated by the county, the contract for Van Houten. So again, if those money from the county can be allocated somewhere else, $115,000, probably most likely we can entertain.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jamal.
That we can entertain to, so those $115,000 can be used somewhere else as you wish, but this is her, not me.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jamal. So at this point, I'll go ahead and go to residents in the audience, and then after that on Zoom, whoever would like to, come on up.
Can I talk about the budget in whole, not necessarily this?
So we're doing department by department. You have just a generic one in regards to the whole budget? Because if it's,
Yeah, I have comment on the whole budget.
so it'd be best then to wait until those particular departments have already been done, and then just do whatever comments you've got, do it department by department. Because there's stuff that they're gonna present that may maybe answer your question.
I just try to give you what I think can help the council to decide, and I'll leave it, at that.
Thank you.
And you can share if they don't have enough.
Because we'll have the clerk's
So
office.
few comments about,
Here, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I'll give it here. Actually, you know what?
Yeah, okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and look at those. Thank you. All right, anybody else from the audience? Nobody else? Okay, on Zoom. Anybody else on Zoom that has any comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to the next department. Thank you very much, Kim, and thank you for continuing to do a good job.
You're welcome. Mr. Chair, I would direct the council to page 98 and 99 of the budget book,
Thank you so much, Director.
and that would be under the Peach tab of expenditures, page 98 and 99. Okay,
98 and 99.
okay. What you have in front of you is the proposed 22-23 spending plan for the library. It amounts to $2.613 million. Within this budget, we are appropriating for a library director and 7 full-time librarians. The proposed operating budget again, for part-time salaries, $478,150. Within this budget in capital outlay would be $50,000 for the JFK roof, another $125,000 for carpeting, and cemetery maintenance items, and $10,000 for new chairs at the libraries. Remember also within this department, you have $375,000 worth of debt payment that is due in 22-23. And that debt, when it is all complete, will be done in 6/30 of 2023. The contingency line item is the estimated payment from the library to the general fund to support general fund operations that the library receives on a day-to-day basis through the various departments. And with that, Your Honor, I would turn it over for questions.
Thank you.
Your Honor, oh boy.
Thank you.
If I can, I'd like to make a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Or comments as well. Okay. So anyway, I usually do an overview every year, so I'd like to continue doing that. So far, this fiscal year, the libraries are once again staying on budget. Library is looking stable, and our projected fund balance is going to go higher again as we continue to use prudent budgeting and save for major renovations and/or emergencies. I wanted to, we have a couple of new council people, and I wanted to remind existing council people, the library does not get any revenue from the general fund. It is by and large a self-supporting entity, some state money and TIFA aside, funded through the annual millage. All costs and services the library uses for staff, bond debt, operations, pension contributions, health care, services for the city is all funded in this budget. And thanks to Dave for breaking that out. I appreciate the work he did on that. It helps actually make it a lot easier for me to show that. A gradual long-term plan that accounts for the atrophy of the millage rate over time and considers inflation and other costs as well. So I have that, and I'm always considering it. The libraries are impacted drastically by the COVID epidemic this past fiscal year. So far, this fiscal year, we have checked out or renewed over 123,122 items and have had an abundance of attendance at our events. In fact, we're higher than pre-COVID levels at a lot of attendance at events, which I want to indicate probably seems to be a citywide thing. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, very happy.
Your hard work, Mike.
Yeah, well, thank you. And council and the rest of the city as well. So during COVID, we had over 48,000 items picked up curbside, over 39,000 crafts made for activity boxes, distributed to local homes, put out over 317 virtual programs, and created over 574 YouTube videos. We're going to continue on those trends. This upcoming year, we will continue on the path we have set forth in the previous years and continue to set the following objectives: continue on a positive yet responsible track in salary wages each year, make sure we are meeting fringe benefit costs equity with staff, continue to add to the fund balance and save for future stability of the library, account for the structural maintenance repair of both buildings. We also do hope to add Sunday hours contingent on getting staffing. So as we know, getting staffing isn't always easy, so if we get staffing in terms of a part-time librarian, we're going to be adding that. We'll also be looking to maybe increase hours on Saturdays, so we are looking to increase some hours. A few items of note this upcoming year include a couple lines. Salary increases have been delayed until, as Dave has shown here, till early in the next fiscal year. This will be introduced as a retroactive budget amendment and will be more in line with library salaries across the state in order to keep us competitive. These increases are, of course, going to be short and long-term fiscally responsible. Keep diligent track of that, and we're going to continue on that track. The same will apply for part-time increases and step increases. And 738, 688.738, coin copies. Copy charges are going to be gradually phased back in starting in July. What we did is we had, because of COVID, we had some free copies that we gave out so there'd be less monetary transactions and less interaction. And we're going to be gradually phasing that in. We may or may not reach the amount based on traffic or economic conditions. It kind of depends on what we get, but even if we don't, I'm pretty sure the budget's going to be just fine in terms of a fund balance, and there'll still be a fund balance there. Also, in 981, another line was added. I used to have capital outlay in terms of books, just kind of lumped in with other purchases. Dave and the accounting team wanted to make sure that I parsed that out. So there's library books, and then there's capital outlay purchases. And I think the roof is included on that. JFK has had some leaks for some time, and I want to make sure we get that addressed this fiscal year. So that's it in a nutshell. Thanks for your time and consideration. So any questions you may have?
I had a small question, but you kind of answered it. I just want to confirm. So the extra $25,000 from projected activity to requested under capital outlay is primarily for the roof repair?
Yes,
Okay.
primarily it's from the roof repair, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome.
Any other council members have any questions? Councilwoman, go ahead.
Well, I'd
Yes,
like
Nancy.
to acknowledge Tifa and all they're contributing to help our library. There's two items here, the roof being part of it and the paying off some of the debt. And I think we ought to really thank Tifa for what they do for the library.
Yes, we're very lucky to have such a good Tifa district, and I want to applaud them for what they do in helping us out. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? All right, hearing none. There's nobody on Zoom. Anybody from the audience?
Well, thank you. That's what I like to do.
Well, he's a national award winner now, so
Yes.
who's going to question that? Who could question the GOAT, right?
Well, yeah. and
Well, let me
again-
get you a question.
Again,
No,
that is a community effort, and thanks to the administration, thanks to council, past and present, it's a team effort. I'm very proud to do that on behalf of the city, so,
Thank you. Good job.
thank you,
Well done.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair,
Ruda?
with the completion of the library budgets, I would turn the council's attention to page 56 of the general fund proposed budget, page 56, which is information technology. If you would take a moment and go to page 56. Okay. To start off the presentation, please know that the city of Dearborn has, how do I want to put this? The city of Dearborn has basically said, we went out, reached out to them for them to provide service for the upcoming fiscal year, and they basically gave us a number of $1 million to provide IT services for the upcoming fiscal year, and we politely said thank you, but no thank you. So where we are is we are setting up a new IT department. This was in the Tuesday presentation. And basically what you have in front of you is a request for appropriation of $448,925. What this does is this funds a full-time staffer with fringe benefits. The proposed salary in this area would be $115,000, plus an additional $60,000 for fringe benefits for that individual, which would include hospitalization, life, Social Security, and a defined benefit pension plan. Within the budget, IT services for licensing agreements we're proposing $175,000. In addition, we would be setting up another $50,000 for repairs and maintenance of equipment that is currently on hand. And there's another $50,000 for capital outlay that would come about throughout the fiscal year. And then when you add those up, you're at $448,925. I would, at this point in time, turn it over to council for questions.
Council Chair.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Do we believe one person's going to be able to handle this?
As you can see, there is still a little bit of money available under contractual services and account 200. That's where we've typically been paying for a lot of our contractual services. We believe that getting the director will provide better service than we were already receiving because he will be here full-time assisting us. And if he needs additional assistance, he can hire a contracting company in the meantime until he realizes and establishes what type of structure that department will require for the size of the city that we have.
And of course, we're going to hire someone fully qualified, Microsoft responsible and the whole 9 yards, correct?
Correct.
Because right now, I still haven't been able to receive very many emails. I've had calls into Dearborn and no phone calls back, and it's getting a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, Council Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
So, I mean, even Dearborn, I mean, just to their defense right now, they're going through a lot of changes. As you know, there's a few people that retired over there from that department, and I think they're operating on a skeleton crew. And, you know, they have brand-new administration, a lot of new people, and, you know, anytime you get one person, it takes you a while to get people set up, emails and whatever they need, people leaving, you still gotta disable them as well. So they have a lot of challenges, you know, to their defense. And to answer your question also, Councilman Muscat, you know, with enough people. So we're gonna start with the director first, you know, he's gonna come in. Again, Dearborn Heights has never had that before, and I'm getting tired of relying on somebody else to do things for us. So we're like second, you know, always second with everything that goes on. So we should be first. If something needs to get done, we need to get a hold of that person. So the director is going to come in, he's going to assess everything for the entire city, also the police station. So the police station has a person right now, they're supposed to be doing this. So what we're going to do is that person's going to be assessing to see if we do need additional help. So we can help out, you know, both fire and police as well with their IT. And that way we can just have that person just report to the city instead of, you know, like having different people doing different things. And the other thing is we're trying to standardize processes. So just to give you another example, you know, badge system, you have, you know, I mean, you know more than anybody, you know, you can work, let's say, for Ford Motor Company or even like on the military side. You have one badge for the entire base, and you have one person or the company. Then if you're an engineer, you have access to this building. If you're, you know, a custodian, you have, you know, access to whatever buildings you work in. Right now, we have so many different systems, which is, you know, it's wasting a lot of city money and resources. So we're trying to standardize that as well. So this IT director that we're going to get, he's going to put us, as somebody mentioned in the past, in the 19th century. Well, you know what, I'm trying to propel us to get us into the 21st century.
So we're still paying Dearborn right now?
Well, we have to.
Their contract expires on June.
Because we're not getting the service.
No, they're
End of June,
still
the
helping
contract
us.
expires.
They're not helping me.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so that they're helping us. Well, trust me, he's working overtime. Tara is here.
He's actually here right now. He's
Yeah.
interviewing for the potential candidates right now.
So he's
in
even
the
involved
HR
with the interview process.
Okay.
So he's currently right now with interviewing a candidate for IT.
So there's no doubt in my mind that we need somebody for us specifically. I personally was never in favor of having Dearborn IT work with us. I know we had no choice at one point, but doesn't matter. I'm definitely in favor of us having our own. I definitely think that's going to be a huge plus for all departments.
I think it's good too.
Yeah. What were we paying to Dearborn IT?
115. So the budget stayed the same. So we moved the 115 that we were paying them and moved it into the salary
So they
section.
went up $900,000.
Well,
So I've
Well-
spoken with representatives from Dearborn, without saying who they were, they're convinced this is logical. Obviously, it's not.
Illogical.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it's not logical, at least not from our perspective. So either way, personally, I'm speaking on my behalf, I'm definitely in favor of moving forward with this.
I also wanted to point out that the account that did spike, and you've seen it in both years, is the IT services. That is related to what the mayor was saying. We're trying to get all of the contracts related to any type of technology under the umbrella of the IT department, rather than it being in different locations with different contracts in each department. So that person will be responsible for the unity of the city and having standardized processes for everybody.
So when we buy software, the software then belongs to the city and everybody can use it?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Other
this-
than if you have something that is going to be specifically based for one group or another.
So this is gonna really help us. The best is not just standardizing the process, but anything technology-wise, it would have to go to the IT director to get us the best technology is out there, and also, best service. Now, we're not gonna rely on anybody else, because nobody's gonna know Dearborn Heights better than we do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Council Chair.
Councilman Bedun was first. Go ahead.
I'm gonna do the age before you as well.
All right.
Oh,
So, you think you're better looking?
He definitely.
Nancy's agreeing.
We're here till 5:30. You gotta get some last night, guys.
So my question is, so this IT guy, he's gonna cover the whole, like the city hall? Or the whole-
Person, let's say IT
The whole
person.
city, like all the buildings? I mean, I
Yeah.
think,
Before you answer that question, I just wanna add something, before you guys even answer that question. I know the person that's being interviewed, and he's extremely.
There's several. Wait, time out.
He or she.
No, wait, hold on, excuse me. We have a bunch of people being interviewed. We don't have one person
So you know
only.
one of them.
We
I know
interviewing-
one of the 10.
There were 57 candidates.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, I can tell you, that, again, this administration, okay, I'm not even, you know how before people get appointed? We're not gonna comment on that portion. I'm not even involved with this process of hiring. We have people from other cities are helping us with the interview process. And this is the way I've done everything. When you bring somebody on board, I want that person to be qualified for that position. So we have people from, I don't want to name different cities, the cities are involved in this, but there's several people involved from other cities in the interview process for this IT director. So it's not like, hey, I know this person, I'm gonna bring in this person. as
Hey,
the-
let me restate my
Excuse me,
statement then. I don't know the person personally, but I hear there's a really high-level person that is applying for this position.
That's 7 people. So either way, we can't discuss this.
Really?
Either way, we can't
So
discuss.
just to answer his question, hopefully if it's one that I know, I think this person's pretty well. Which I've never dropped a name. I don't even know if you guys know who I'm talking about.
All right.
Well, we
Mr.
don't even know
Come
what
on.
you're talking about.
so my question is, he's gonna be handling like,
He or she.
he or she, they're gonna be handling if somebody has any issue with the computers, if
Yes.
they're installing new equipment, even with the library too, and the police department, the fire department?
Yes, with the library, they do have some funds as well that they get for the library specifically for IT, so a lot of their software is covered through some grants. But yes, he will be overseeing the entire city and guiding us through those processes and whatever contracts we may
I
need
mean, I don't
moving
know, for me,
forward.
it seems like it's mission impossible. I mean, one person's gonna be,
Council
Next
Chair?
year, we may come with an additional position for assisting him, but at the moment, we are expecting him to evaluate first.
He or she.
Again, this process has never been done before. The best thing to do, the first thing you ever do in anything, you bring a person, an expert person to come in and give you an assessment, right? So this person is gonna come in as a director, he's gonna assess you can't, it's like we got a bunch of little fires in the entire city right now. So we're trying to fight all these little fires. So now we're gonna bring this person in, he's gonna go and assess every building or every department in the city to make sure what they need. That person might come back and say, you know what, this is overwhelming, we definitely need another person. We need to upgrade. I don't know if you've seen some of the infrastructure we have here or some of the computer systems that we have here or the servers. Even the telephone service, even the phones that we use, the printers, I mean, a lot of little things that we have to standardize. And that person's gonna come in, he's gonna assess everything, and they're gonna tell us, and again, we keep informing you everything that happens, we let the council know. If we need an additional person, we gotta bring that person's budget, say, hey, we need an additional person for this process.
I mean-
So again, we have to standardize everything. And, right now, this department, the way it was in the past, hey, I need to buy this here, they go get it, they get budgeted for, this person gets this. So this system is not able to talk to this system. It's like chaotic, guys. So what we need to do is you get this person, you try to get a process in place, even with the telephones. We were talking about that yesterday, the cell phones. This particular department has this company, this person has this department. I was talking to our new police chief. He was like, what the heck is going on? Why don't you get this particular system that actually is cheaper? And in case something goes down, there's a catastrophe, this system actually would override like a lot of the little systems that we have, like the cell towers. So this is something that was never brought to our attention, that is actually right now, we're in process of fixing a lot of things that was done in the past, which was, like I said, one of the things, hey, we've done it like this for the last 50 years. Well, that doesn't work anymore.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, for me, this department is the backbone of the city.
Yes.
Because, I mean, without the IT department, I don't think the city can function. And like you said, we need to move to the 21st century. So I'm all for anything for this department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Council Chair.
Go ahead.
My last question here is, do we have a allocated location where this individual will be working? Will they be in City Hall? Will they be working from home? And I'd prefer that they would be in City Hall.
They do have an office in City Hall right across from the assessor's office. They typically sit there when they do come in-house from Dearborn. We also have available space potentially in the police department. I know that there's a lot of empty offices that he could potentially be part-time there, part-time here,
Okay, that's it.
She, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else in here? All right, next, we have Hassan Jamal.
No, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's just see what,
I
go ahead.
apologize.
Council Chair, I'm sorry, one more question before we move on. Since this IT director is going to be moving between buildings, is he going to be given a car, or is he going to be reimbursed from?
Well, this is pretty
It's all
elementary
through
right now.
negotiations right
So
now.
let's just do one thing at a
figure it out.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, right now,
I
we don't
apologize,
even know
we gotta
who the
leave that out,
person
'cause we're
is.
doing
We don't
interviews
even
right
know.
now. Okay. Mr. Sabuda, you had something?
Yeah, just a second. The mayor, the cybersecurity right now is a hot issue in that IT area right now. There's a lot of grants, and that would be a great move to have somebody who specializes in specific IT and cybersecurity writing and element to apply for those grants. So this is a very, very possibility that there will be a grant in that area, specifically in cyber and security for our systems, which is right now, I don't know, I don't want to comment, but I don't see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jamal. Anybody in the audience have any questions before we go to the next department? All right, anybody else on Zoom have any questions before we go to the next department? All right, hearing or seeing none, we'll go to the next
Mr. Chair,
presentation.
if I may, yes, please turn your budget book to page 78. On the agenda would be the cable section. Page 78 of the general fund.
My favorite one.
Is that 78? Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, sir. What you have before you is the cable television department. We are asking for fiscal year 22-23 to appropriate $809,550. What that entails is one full-time salary and 2 1/2 part-time staffers that would be appropriated here. Further, I want to point out at this time on line item 101-809-712.000. I have a typo. I overestimated the requested and recommended budget by $23,000. Oh, no, I'm sorry, $20,000.
Which line item was that?
101-809-707.100.
Part-time.
That is correct. $84,400. That would come down by $20,000 to $64,400. I had double counted a part-timer, and this is where the adjustment should be made.
So then the bottom number would also be adjusted, obviously.
That is correct, sir. That is correct.
What is the correct number on the bottom one?
You're looking at 9, 10,
20,000 less?
789,550.
Now,
That was my question.
real quick, how much money does the cable have? This 808, or 789,550, is that all PEG money?
No. So 600, good question, Councilman. So basically what we have inside of the budget is another PEG capital investment. This would be the studio continuation work that would come out of the restricted fund balance of the general fund. So $600,000 of that is coming from there.
That's the 101-809-981.001.
That is correct. And the studio is in the Berwyn Center, am I correct there? That is in the Berwyn Center. That would be rehabbed and redone with the remaining $600,000. As you know, the first $600,000 was invested here in this room. And with that, they also have set up $3,000 in capital under $5,000, very small for repairs and maintenance. And then the balance of the funds, the $189,000 is coming.
And that's
is coming
the
from the
bulk-
general, right.
The bulk was because of the studios.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's
Yes,
good. That's,
yes, sir.
Okay. Why was there
Good
such a
question.
high jump on telephones from 0 to 8,000?
Okay, let's see here. Where are we here?
That's on page 78.
Right, so if you look, 2021, Mr. Chair, you had $6,550 in telephones. We have yet to record, we probably write an adjusting journal entry at 6:30, and we haven't made that entry yet. Okay, so there's a timing issue in the expenses arriving here. And then, so what'll happen is, I believe if you look in the 200 department, general government, you'll see a bigger telephone line item. So we'll piece that out to this section. And then we're looking at an $8,000 number, which is exactly what was appropriated by council last fiscal year.
Council Chair.
Okay. Councilman Beal was next.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Council Chair, I'm just wondering, I see we're allocating another $600,000 for another studio. That's $1.2 million in 2 studios. That's a lot of money. Is that?
Studios are very expensive.
That was the
Yeah,
PEG
and that's
money.
what the money's for. We're not able to use that money for anything else
Okay.
but hardware-related issues.
Well, I mean, I guess you gotta use it.
Yes.
Might as well just have a bunch of studios.
No,
Well, that was-
actually, just so you folks are aware, and good afternoon, folks, good to see you again. Yeah, that studio will be used for the general type things. This area over here was a passion of mine because quite frankly, the whole time I worked for the city, we didn't have a spot where we could do short stand-up videos or photo ops, things of that nature, okay? So again, this is gonna be good for short type videos. As a TV studio though, not so much. Okay?
You're talking over this wall right here?
Right, yeah. We can bring our handheld or portable equipment in, again, to shoot stand-up videos. If the mayor has a guest come in, hold the mic up, maybe 2, 3, 4
Yeah, I like
minute
that,
type
I like
things.
that. Will there also be somewhere where, let's just say the mayor wanted to get on stage and have a conversation with, the governor when they came in?
That would be the studio.
That'd be right here.
You're in the studio, right?
Well, I'm saying, will the Berwyn Center, the new place we're doing, will it have a different setup or will it look like this?
We don't know
It will
yet.
be an actual studio.
Okay.
It'll be a 3
Headshots, everything?
I'm sorry?
Will you be able to take headshots for employees as well?
Sure, yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, we can do that anywhere, actually. My backdrops are portable.
You're so good.
So where's the location for that studio?
Berwyn.
Center.
Yeah, Berwyn Center, yeah. But that'll be a traditional studio, probably a 3-camera setup, with full audio, overhead lighting, the whole 9 yards.
I know that this is a little off topic, Council Chair, that's okay. Do these lights dim over here, or these, or?
Actually, we just finished the work on the last 2 lights down there. Those are dimmable.
How about these?
No, those are
Can't
not.
look up, man.
No.
Just keep looking up.
Put some sunglasses.
I'm about to.
Any other council members have any questions on this?
Thank you, Council Chair.
Bob Hancock does a great job, Council Chair.
Yes, he does.
I think we're lucky to have
Thank you, I
him.
appreciate it. You know what? we have a lot of people who do a lot of good work
I
on
agree
this
with
type
you.
of stuff. So I'm pleased, I appreciate your kind words, but man, I gotta spread it around to all the folks that pitch in. Okay?
Anybody
One
in the
other-
audience?
One other elephant in the room, if you will, please, as you know, our cable system is offline right now. We talked to the vendor yesterday. He is banging on the manufacturer of that part, and he's doing everything he can to get that. It's gonna be a matter of a few weeks yet before that comes in.
When we redo the studio,
Yes, sir.
is that gonna be upgraded, or is that
Everything's
new
gonna
part
be
that we get is going to
Well,
be?
no, The new part that we get will be compatible with the rest of the.
That's what I'm,
Yeah,
yeah,
that will
so
be
we'll be
compatible.
incorporating that in with the new.
Yeah, we
new
made
studio.
special care to
And,
make
and,
sure.
and just wanna let somebody, people that don't know, this $1.2 million has been an accumulation of money ever since cable companies came into existence in Dearborn Heights over the years. I don't wanna go into any specifics and bring up bad stuff, but, it's been, 20+ years in the making that we collected this money. And what it is, it's right off your cable bill. If you get cable, look at it, it says PEG fees. You may pay $2 of it. And over a period of years,
I always
it
wondered
had
why
built up.
Comcast was charging us that.
Yeah, that's public education, and that's where this money came from.
And I'll tell you, folks, it is a breath of fresh air to be able to come in here and see all this stuff coming in, and knowing that we're gonna go to that studio over there, bring that back to life again. I say hallelujah to you folks, hallelujah to the administration.
Well, we fought
Good
hard to
stuff.
get this money.
Indeed, we did, yeah.
Okay, it was a long, drawn-out battle. And, I'm not ashamed to say that I helped.
Thank you.
You've been helping for many years, Councilman.
Well, this was something special to me, these PEG fee money.
And we don't have to go to eBay, buy parts.
Yes.
Thank you, I was getting a little tired of that.
Okay, so, Councilman Tom Wenzel, you said you had a question? You had your hands up?
Yeah, I did, thank you. Now, this studio at Berwyn location, I know it's been discussed, but who and when made the final decision on it? This is the first time I've heard that that's where it's gonna be. Who made the decision and when was it made?
Been there.
We've been talking about it for the last 4 years.
Okay, yeah, Tom, the
Yeah,
studio's always been.
possible location with Berwyn.
No, there's
No,
already
no.
a studio
There's
there.
already one there, but.
There's been one there from
We know
day
that,
one,
but
Tom.
We were looking at other locations. There was nothing ever at the council meeting saying this is exactly where we're gonna do it.
Council
Show
Chair.
me show me when and where.
I believe what happened was a few years ago, there was discussion of moving that studio.
In Berwyn.
In Berwyn, or maybe over to the
different
police
section of Berwyn,
department. But that was just a rumor talk.
Well,
It-
on the rumor talk, it was being looked into.
Well, I think that went by the wayside like the dodo bird.
Tom, functionally, we've looked at every building in
think.
the city. There really is no other building that's capable of housing a studio at this point that the city owns.
Well, we were looking at the Justice Center, the vacant area there, and we were denied access to that, if you recall in the past, and there was nothing ever said after that.
And that's true, we were denied access.
Yes, and that's part of the problem with putting the studio there, when you have people coming and going, guests coming in, to do
Exactly.
tapings and things, and it just, it would be a horror, scene to try and get these people into
I
a
don't
secured
think-
building.
Well, hey, we have questionable people of, questionable character coming in and out of that building every day, so I don't see why having people from a studio coming in would be any different. It'd give those guys at the front desk more work to do instead of sit there most of the day. Not that they're not doing a good job, they're doing a fantastic
Okay.
job. But this was never discussed, and all of a sudden, it's thrown on us right now, this is where it's gonna be.
Council Chair, we're not spending anything right now. This is just,
Yeah,
there's
just
no decision.
updating it.
There's nothing.
And again, Councilman, at one point, there was, I don't know if it was from people from Berwyn, I don't know if it was seniors, but they talked about possibly moving it within the Berwyn Center, and then some of the seniors did not like that, and then it was squashed, and that was about 3-4 years ago. So there's really no decision to make. It's still where it's at, it's never moved. They're just updating it. They're not.
There was a question by Councilman Baydoun, he said, where's the new studio? And several people said, at the Berwyn Center.
But that's where it's at.
The new studio, he said, where's the new studio?
No, it's not the new studio. It's gonna be the updated. It's just gonna be the same one, more updated.
What I'm saying, Council Chair, is, this is a decision made without, asking or talking to the city council about. I mean, hey, you know what, this is what we're thinking about doing, this is where we want to do it now.
Okay,
Instead, this is where we're gonna do it.
but I respectfully disagree, Councilman, because it's been there, and just because, let's say myself, I say, hey, why don't we move the rec center from where it's at to, the Justice Center, and it gets squashed because it's not gonna go nowhere, because it's a bad idea, and it was dead. So, 2-3 years from now, when we talk about the rec center, nobody can say, well, nobody told me we're not gonna move anymore. It was dead. It was just a small, 1-day, 2-day thing. It didn't go nowhere and it was dead. It just, the studio's still where the studio's at. So there's nothing being hidden from you is what I'm saying.
Who squashed the Justice Center?
I mean, I don't remember. I remember it was a lot of talk about it. Not a lot, some talk about it. I think it was about 4 or 5 years back and it died.
Mr. Chairman, we can reopen this and take a
I'm
look
just saying,
again
I
just to
don't
be
care
safe.
where it's at. Bourbon Center's fine. I'm not saying but it's the fact that things are going on like that, and it's just, it wasn't council approval, or council, with council.
But it
input.
never went nowhere. Like I said, there was nothing, I'm not trying to defend the
Oh, no,
administration. I'm just saying it went nowhere. It was just a quick conversation, it died.
And I believe we can open that up for future consideration. All we're doing is appropriating the money for an upgraded studio, not where the studio is. So according to Mr. Ankrat, he'll be open to looking at other possible venues.
Well, that's what I was saying. When it was asked where this new studio is, Councilman Baydoun said the second studio, where is it? And 2 or 3 people said Berwin Center.
Well, that's because that's where it is right now.
Maybe. The new studio.
I understand that, but right now,
Okay.
never mind.
Councilman, we're going round and round on some, honestly, it's not a part of the budget, at the end of the day, but it's really not there.
Also,
it
just
got
for the
squashed.
record, I didn't ask where there's a new one. I asked why it was another 600,000. You guys explained it was coming from the PEG fees.
No, I asked where's the studio, and you said it's at the Berlin Center.
Yeah. There's nothing being hidden. It was just a conversation, it went away 4 years ago, and that's it. And the studio's still where it's at for the last 3, 4, 5 years, longer, actually. Okay, any other questions from anybody else on Zoom or in the audience? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and go to the next section.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the next department that's up is the Tax Increment Finance Authority. They would be under your Peach tab section,
96,
page 96.
Thank you,
Bob
Robert.
Ankrat, no, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, yes, all right, Tom. Okay, Mr. Chair, if I may get started. The Tax Increment Finance Authority, this is, what's being presented to you this afternoon is a partial operating budget. This is, as we talked about on Tuesday, what you have in front of you are those expenditures that support the general fund. I can tell you in the revenue section, we have calculated the capture, and based upon what we have seen from there, we also are presenting to you today the expenses that support general fund operation and the debt of the Justice Center. With that being said, what will happen is later on in May, you will see the final completed budget with capital projects from the TIF board, and then in the end, you will approve the final TIF budget. Now, if you don't get a final TIF budget, what would happen is this would hang in limbo until the TIF board voted and then the council voted, because as you know, you need both boards to approve the TIF budget.
Right, yep.
Okay, so what you have here is what we're anticipating being inside of the TIF budget for city operations. We have a total of $1.738 million for operation. With that includes the staff, which would be Mr. Roscoe and his part-timer. And then in addition to that, the Tax Increment Finance Authority has an administrative fee back to the general fund of 6% of their capture, which amounts to $138,000. The difference between the 138 and the 259 in salary is 121, and that would be your full and part-time salary and the benefits for the full-time staffer. In addition to that, the library, the TIF will transfer out $235,243 to the library, so the library can pay its debt. And then the Tax Increment Finance Authority is picking up $1,005,000 in bond principal payments for the Justice Center. And please remember that the district court, through fines and fees, delivers another $95,000 to the building authority, and then the building authority assists in paying that Justice Center debt. TIF has committed to if you recall in the presentation from Tuesday, the TIF we're appropriating for a new ordinance officer, and the TIF is contributing $35,000 of that.
Nice.
For that office, for that ordinance officer. And with that, those abbreviated expenses total $1.738 million. Mr. Roscoe is here today to answer any and all questions the council may have.
Okay, so before we go into questions, if you do me a favor, and I always do this at council meetings, whenever something that I think some residents may not be familiar with, I always like to have, if you don't mind, if you could give us just a general, not to us, but to the general audience, just a general outline, maybe a sentence or two or three or four, in regards to what TIFA is all about and what's involved, so that some of the council members can hear it, and also members of the audience, and then we'll go into questions.
Okay, thank you. Kind of in a nutshell, I guess the easiest way to describe the TIFA is in Dearborn Heights, it was established in 1986 by the state to work with, under state act, to work with the city on basically economic development improvements and infrastructure improvements within the city. So what we do is we capture an amount of money that is would otherwise go to other taxing agencies, and we are able to capture it and take it and use it for local projects, whether it's infrastructure, business grants, things like that, to help the city. Does that kind of cover it, I think?
General idea, yes, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions from any council members? Councilman, go ahead.
Yeah, and thank you, Tom Roscoe, for all you do. But the TIFA is a board, it's separate from the city, it's not a department like recreation or IT. And the key is being able to recapture the property tax money and what it can be spent on. And then what other revenues are there for that TIFA receives money from, if any?
Occasionally, part of the TIFA plan is also to purchase and sell property for economic development purposes, to put properties, say, to their highest and best use. So occasionally, we may sell a property here and there that we have. Other sources of income tend to just be interest on investments, which nowadays isn't that much, but we make revenues there. So otherwise, but the main core of it is the capture funds.
Thank you.
To refresh council's memory, the capture is estimated to be $2.3 million.
Is that here anywhere in the budget, or is that?
Yes, it is. Page 17. Page 17 of the budget.
Under revenue?
Under revenue, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council members? All right, seeing
Something-
none.
oh,
Anybody in the audience have, I'm sorry, you had?
Yeah, just want to caution, it's been kind of mentioned to me by people. The TIFA operates under the TIF Act and whatnot. The separate budget, as David said, will be coming in later. I'm here today, can't answer these things that have to do with the general budget, but we will be bringing our actual full TIFA budget. At our May meeting, the TIFA board reviews it and then sends to council for council's approval.
Specific projects that you'll be participating in.
Well, everything. All, the numbers are all, seem to be in agreement, they'll all be covered in the budget, but today, as part of the corporate fund, you're dealing with the numbers that pertain to the city, that go through the city books. We'll have the whole full TIFA budget that we actually submit for the approval according to state act.
Okay, great. Any questions from the audience? All right, any questions on Zoom? I don't see anybody with their hands up. Going once, twice. Okay, Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We'll go to the next section,
The-
which is CDBG.
CDBG, page 83, under the peach tab of your budget book, page 83. This is also a very similar situation. As Mr. Jamal has stated earlier in the presentation today, he has to go through public hearing. These expenses are related to the operation of the general fund, and with that, they support various programs, and also you have the salaries that are associated with the CDBG program. However, please know that all of this will have to go through the public hearing process, and with that, that'll happen in May or June, whenever Mr. Jamal has that public hearing, and then from there, you've got the first part of his program already incorporated in your budget, and then, as long as we get a positive vote for the public hearing, then everything else will be added to your operating budget on the back end. And what you had before you this afternoon for CDBG is approximately, we've set up $535,000 in expenditures out of the what is estimated to come from CDBG. That includes $183,000 for a full-time director and for part-timers, and the fringe benefits associated with the director. Now, this is 60% of the director's salary. The other 40% is coming out of the water sewer fund, and you'll see that when we get to the water sewer section in a few days. In addition to that, we have $150,000 being spent on code enforcement here at the city. And then also we have another $120,000 set up for senior services. So as you know, we talked with Kim this afternoon. You can see $120,000 coming from CDBG into the general fund to support her senior programming. Then you see a little bit higher up in your budget, crime prevention. The plan from CDBG is to support crime prevention for $38,000. And then the balance of $43,831 that is on page 84 of the budget, that is the balance of administration that Mr. Jamal has set aside in his final public hearing for city administration expenses. With that, we'll be happy to entertain any and all questions. I believe Mr. Jamal is online, so if he could unmute, and we'll be happy to take your questions. And again, remember, we still have to go through the public hearing process.
I'd had a question in regards to the salary, but you answered it, so we're good.
Okay, very good.
Any other council members have questions on CDBG?
Mr. Jamal has his hand up.
David?
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Maybe some details on the code enforcement. We've got 103-960-915.020, 021, and 022. Could I get an idea of what code enforcement we're discussing?
Hassan, you want to take that one?
We're not showing any.
Is I am on?
Yes, you are, sir.
Okay, just let's make it clear to the public, to the council, that this particular fund, CDBG 103, which presented to you, it's not a budget proposal. So this is an illustration that CPA Sabuta, for transparency, that's what being suggested. It's not a budget proposal for 22-23. We can't consider it, and I am not requesting you to approve this as a budget proposal within your budget approval. This particular Fund 103, CDBG, is special fund and will be approved later in a separate budget hearing. My discussion and answering the questions will not be considered as a budget, action plan CDBG budget, because that's not the correct. We will not be in compliance if we do that, because that discussion must be logged in, must be done according to the public, open public meetings. We need to advertise for, be taken and being presented to HUD later on after 30 days comment. Given all this in consideration, I am willing to answer general questions as a matter of information to help you understand the CDBG operation, not to discuss a budget proposal. If there is any question, I cleared that with Plant Moran, and just for you to understand in the public that there is two processes involving special fund, CDBG Fund 103. The first one is obligation by the state charter of accounting to present, approve a budget for that fund prior to June 30, 2022 for the coming fiscal year of 22-23. Number two, there is other obligations by HUD to presenting the proposals, and the other one is presenting the proposed budget. Both of them require 10 days advertising in the newspaper to get the community to know what they are and with a summary. The other obligation will be that this is the new for this year, is we prefer to wait for our allocation from HUD to present the final one. So the requirement by HUD goes hand by hand, foot by foot, with the state requirement. So from the CPA David Sabuta point of view, the state is required our budget to be approved by before.
Thank you
so much.
Mr. Jabal.
Thank you.
Federal
God bless you.
regulations, God bless you. Federal regulation, it required also another parallel process, which is that's why I am, refraining from discussion this as a budget proposal, as much as I can answer the questions for general purpose, but you will see the final budget coming to you in a public hearing probably mid-May or first week of May. This budget presented by Mr. Sabura did not include all the requests by the departments, especially, the Recreation Department, which requested about $360 million.
Thank you so much.
Now.
Thank you,
Thank you
Hassan.
so
We'll
much.
look forward to the May report.
I love you. Thank you so much, Hassan.
Thank you, Hassan.
Any question, any general question, I am willing to answer.
Oh, you're
I
done.
can
Good,
answer-
you're good.
I can answer, sorry, Councilwoman Breyer, to explain for you.
You did a good job.
We
Good
can
job.
do that offline.
Yeah.
I like that because I don't want to really be in violation discussing about.
Yeah.
it with-
That would be good.
Online.
Thank you.
Offline.
And please, this is not part of your approval for this.
You already told us that, sir.
Thank you, Hassan.
did?
I appreciate it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You have a
Thank you, Mr. Jamal. Any other questions in the audience or on Zoom? Hearing none, that concludes our presentation for today. Mariana, good job. Mr. Sabuda, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor and administration, good job. Council, men and women, thank you all.
Thank you for the time.
We'll see you later.
Okay.